Okay, welcome to the session on supporting systematic reviews using the EBSCOhost interface. So this is part one, of course. So this is the first of two parts, and in this 60-minute session, we'll introduce the concepts of searching the healthcare literature to support systematic reviews from the initial framework of a question, demonstrating the search using the PICO framework, so searching for a combination of keywords and subject terms for CINAHL and MEDLINE. Part two, we'll look at how to process search results using personal folders and bibliographic software such as EndNote. Okay, so we're going to focus on searching specifically this afternoon. So I'm Richard Crooks. I work for the EBSCO Customer Training Services team. I'm also a chartered librarian, having worked in the NHS in England for about 12 years back in the day. So I currently manage a team of trainers supporting customers around UK, Nordics, Africa. And thanks for joining today. So in terms of the objectives for this afternoon, I hope that by the end of the session, you'll be able to describe the key steps in searching in support of systematic reviews within, of course, the context of searching the EBSCOhost interface for CINAHL MEDLINE. You'll be able to plan an appropriate search strategy using the PICO clinical framework. Appreciate there are others out there, but we are going to focus on PICO today. And also you better locate and use the built-in methodological search filters available on this interface as well. And also you'll be able to find further support information for using EBSCOhost. Okay, associate research databases. So I hope that's what you're expecting today. I know for some this may be a refresher, maybe you were on the session a few months ago, etc., a few weeks ago. But again, any questions, comments, feedback from your use of CINAHL MEDLINE and EBSCOhost, I'd like to hear from you. So please feel free to add that to the Teams chat. Otherwise, you can contact me post-session as well. So just to set the scene then, before we go to live search demo, we'll look at in terms of the goal of supporting system reviews. Users are really attempting to identify all studies, some might argue the majority, that can meet the eligibility criteria for this search. So key points regarding the search steps, of course, we want to identify what's out there in the literature. So both in the context here of CINAHL MEDLINE on this interface. So in that regard, we really need to consider the following three elements. First of all, the research question itself, and that may be based on a particular clinical scenario. And then also how we turn the question into a search strategy using both free text or keyword and thesaurus subject search terms as well. And then the third step is the inclusion or incorporation of truncation, wildcards, and proximity search operators. In other words, the specific syntax that we can use to enhance the search as we enter in our keywords, etc. So we're going to look at these three elements in turn. First of all, of course, we're going to look at the research question that we have. So some of you may have seen this before, for others this may be quite new, but in newborn babies, does a water birth compared with being born on dry land increase the risk of morbidity or mortality? So from the outset, I've highlighted, as you can see here in bold, key terms that I feel are important to search for, and that is as a combination. So newborn babies, of course, water birth, and there's a comparison with dry birth on dry land or land birth, and then there's the increased risk of morbidity or mortality, and does water birth increase that? So again, these are the key elements that we've already identified from this research question, and then from there we then begin to create our strategy using the PICO framework. So PICO, of course, as I'm sure most, if not all of you on this call, consists of the following four elements: the P, the population, or it could be an individual patient, or it could be participants in some context, the intervention, so the procedure, the treatment, etc., or the actual event we're looking at here today, water birth, and then comparison, which obviously compares with land birth, and then the outcome. Now, typically, or quite often is the case, the focus will be on the population group, the patient group, and the intervention. There may not be a comparison, and outcome can often be implied through the initial searching question, etc. So outcome here, of course, is neonatal morbidity or mortality. So once we've, of course, got our framework and we've broken down, identified the key elements, we can then begin to consider what alternative terms, derivatives could we be using, especially when we look at free text or keyword searching. So obviously newborn babies is the population group, so it could be newborn baby, could be singular, could be plural, newborn baby, as you see there, neonates, etc., neonatal, and so on. Then there's the intervention, so water birth, obviously a keyword term, it could be birthing pool, underwater birth, could also be other terms that we might use. Then we have the comparison. So this is maybe a bit trickier because that will often be the general experience in terms of delivery and so on. So birth on land, birth on dry land, land birth, and so on. So what we're doing here really with the free text keyword search terms is trying to understand what is commonly used in the healthcare literature in relation to this element of PICO, as it were. So what do researchers use when they refer to birth on dry land? What terms could they be using? Also, editors, writers, etc. And so what are commonly used terms? Of course, there are some things that go out of fashion, as it were. Things move on, so we have to consider what derivatives or the alternative expressions we could be using. And of course, outcome there, you see neonatal morbidity, mortality. It could be infant morbidity or infant mortality. So that's where we're just brainstorming. We're considering synonyms, alternative expressions for our keyword free text search terms. Okay. The third line, as you might guess, relates to the CINAHL or mesh headings, depending on which database you're using, of course. So infant newborn, water birth, alternative birth methods might also be a useful heading for intervention. Comparison, that can be a bit tricky. There may not be land birth as a CINAHL mesh term, but you might have childbirth and home childbirth, which may imply it's birth on dry land. And then the outcome, you can see infant mortality and perinatal death. So these are specific subject terms used. I believe most of these are from CINAHL, but you'll find equivalent mesh terms as well. So you will not necessarily know what they are when you start searching. They is something you need to browse the thesaurus for, and you can do that in various ways. Okay, so again, any comments, questions, feedback at this time on any of these elements, then please feel free to chip in and put them in the Teams chat as needed. Okay, so just moving on then, and I know at least one of you mentioned this, and as you registered for this session, we're going to look at the free text searching in the context of title and abstract searching on EBSCOhost. So you can see an illustration of this with a screenshot for CINAHL. You have the advanced search page here, the 3 rows there, and then you have the keyword search terms entered. And on the drop down on the right of each line, you have the title field code and AB abstract field code selected and the Boolean OR there. So this is how you would search simultaneously for title and abstract, or within the title and abstract, for records indexed on CINAHL as well as MEDLINE. So the illustration is CINAHL. This was also applied to MEDLINE on EBSCOhost. Now, you can, of course, run that search, and if you run the search, you'll see the command line query shown below presented in the search history. So it's possible to create the command line query offline in a Word document, text file, etc., and then copy and paste that into the upper search box and run it as a single line search for both title and abstract. Okay, so this is how you approach the title and abstract searching on the current interface for EBSCOhost. In terms of then incorporating the subject headings, both CINAHL and MEDLINE, then you can also make use of the toolbar link within each database. So for each database, you'll see a link to the thesaurus. So for CINAHL subject headings, you can click through to that and browse the thesaurus for the available subject terms. For MEDLINE, you'll see the link to MESH 2024, in other words, the medical subject headings 2024 for MEDLINE provided by the National Library of Medicine. So CINAHL subject headings are updated quarterly. I believe MESH terms are annually. Okay, so that may have changed, but it has been typically annually, but CINAHL it's now quarterly. Okay, so that is one way to jump straight to the thesaurus and browse the headings to identify what CINAHL subject headings, what MESH terms would be used by indexers to be assigned to articles about the topic in question. Okay, so with free text searching, in a sense, we second guess the writers, the researchers, what terms they use, what is commonly used in the clinical healthcare environment. With subject headings, we are basically trying to identify the terms for the National Library of Medicine, which both indexes originate from ultimately, and then are used to assign to articles to identify what the content coverage is about. Okay, now as we proceed with this, there's also another alternative, and I'm sure many of you have probably used this in the past. It's available within the NHS in England for other NHS organisations and other sectors as well. So we have this software mapping suggest subject terms. So essentially it's a shortcut to direct yourselves, your users, colleagues to the appropriate index term within each database. So in this screenshot, you'll see GORD or GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. So the acronym's there. And then when suggest subject terms is selected and you click search, it will map your search to the available subject heading. So as you see there, gastroesophageal reflux is used in CINAHL. So this is just a shortcut shortcut. It's really a prompt to get to the index term. That it can be switched off by default, which it is in Images England. So in other words, you're not compelled to use it. But if you select that tick box and then run the search with your search terms entered, then it will map you straight to the thesaurus to see what are index terms, what could be used there. And again, could be a useful way to identify as you're planning your search strategy what those sort of headings are. So if you're creating a table offline with the PICO elements, then this is one way to identify what they would be. Okay, so suggested terms mapping, that feature is enabled in our admin tool, EBSCO admin, which you can access at eadmin.ebscohost.com. Not all of you may have access to that. You may have a dedicated site administrator within your library service. You may be that person, or you may be delegated to administrate the interface, but that is managed in EBSCO admin. We can show how to do that, how to switch that on if you're interested, or we can do that for you at no cost. Okay, so but for the NHS organisations, by and large, this feature has been enabled. If you work in the HSC in Ireland, that also has been enabled as well. So just an alternative way really of getting to the thesaurus and identifying the appropriate subject terms that you could be using in your search. Okay, so moving on in terms of the syntax, the use of truncation wildcards for CINAHL MEDLINE on EBSCOhost. You can see the truncation symbol is the asterisk, the star, and that can be used in a number of different ways. Typically, of course, to search for words with multiple ending. So if you're searching for physiology, physiological, then you can place the asterisk after the L. Obviously, if you are placing it after the O or place it after the O, you would also pick up physio, physiotherapy, physiotherapist, etc. So always be mindful where you place the asterisk. You can also use it to replace between terms as well. So with the example here with ventilator pneumonia, it would be referred to ventilator acquired pneumonia or ventilator associated pneumonia. Enter it as ventilator asterisk pneumonia means you'll find all three variations. Okay, it will only replace one word, by the way, between those two terms. And then for exact phrase searching, you can use double quotation marks. So if you enter double quotation marks with the influenza vaccine, you'll find references where that phrase is mentioned at least once in the bibliographic record, in other words. Okay, now with the EBSCO's interface, you may have noticed in the past that each word that you enter as a keyword search is highlighted, it's in bold, and so influenza will appear highlighted and vaccine will appear highlighted, even if they're not near each other or next to each other, but there will be at least one occurrence of the exact phrase influenza vaccine appearing in the record somewhere. Okay, occasionally you'll find we have hidden metadata from publishers. So in some instances you may not see that and you wonder why is that record retrieved. It just simply means that there's hidden metadata there that is not visible to you, but it is still bringing up a record that could be relevant to your search results. Now we have a single character replacement, the question mark, another wildcard there. So that will, as I said, will replace a single unknown character. So if you want to search for both woman and women, then just replace the A or the E and you will find both variations. Okay. Alternate spelling, particularly relevant for Medline, not so much for CINAHL, but you can use the hash wildcard. So for pediatrics with the UK US spelling, then you can add or insert the hash wildcard after the P before the E, and that'll find both variations. Likewise with color, if you insert hash wildcard after O before R, you'd find color OUR as well as color OR. Okay, good question from Andy there. Can you use truncation commands within a phrase search, such as myocardial infarction asterisk? Yes, you should be able to do that. Okay, we'll consult the help menu as well. I'm sure we can find more information about the elements there, but I'll direct you to where you can find that information as well. Okay, so that's just the wildcards, the truncation there. And before we go to the live demonstration, then just to also clarify the use of proximity search operators within the interface. So again, this can be applied to both CINAHL and MEDLINE. You have the near operator, so that finds words if they are within a specified word range or less of one another, and that is regardless of the order in which they appear. So childhood N5 obesity would find the word childhood within 5 words of less of obesity, as well as obesity within 5 words or less of childhood. Okay, so the number is literal. And then some interfaces, for example, it would say ADJ5 adjacency, that means 4 words or less, but with EBSCOhost it is literal, 5 words or less. W or within finds words if they are within a specified word range, again or less of one another, but this time in the order in which you entered them. Childhood, W8. Obesity finds childhood within 8 words or less of obesity, but not obesity within 8 words or less of childhood. Okay. Now you might find if you work in the NHS that behind the scenes, the search mode is set to perform a within search. Okay, so that search mode is now labeled, it was Boolean phrase, it's now labeled proximity. You may have noticed that change, the label has been changed. I don't think it's been adjusted. In fact, it hasn't been, because I'm now logged in with Open Athens, and I'll show you this in a moment. So the proximity search, which is the default search mode for searching CINAHL MEDLINE for the NHS and other institutions, is within, and I think it's within 0. So basically, essentially, it's performing a search, a phrase search. Okay, so that can be configured. It can be configured behind the scenes, but since it's done nationally, centrally, it's not something necessarily that you could change. Multiple terms can be used on either side of the operator. So you can see the example there with COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 in parentheses that we search first. So those terms within 3 words or less of vaccine. Now I've truncated vaccine there, so it's vaccine, vaccines, vaccination, vaccinations, and vaccinated. Okay, so truncated there. So it could be you look at COVID-19 vaccines or vaccinations for COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2. So again, you can be quite imaginative, creative, and how you use these operators to ensure you're maximizing the search experience. Okay, so that will come obviously with your experience, consultation with others in terms of how you use these features. So again, any questions, any of that, please do let me know. But we will now go to the live demonstration and we will look at our search example. So let's go now to the desktop. So bear with me as I do that. I'll share my screen. And then you should see the advanced search page for CINAHL. Okay, so we're going to run the search now. Okay, so let me do that, and we'll begin with, of course, the population group. Sorry. So we're going to do this a combination of ways. So I'm going to again incorporate some of these things that we've looked at. So newborn, babies. Okay, I could truncate this, for example, to baby or babies. I can add or newborn, simply newborn, truncate that. Or neonates, neonatal. So I can just add these terms and use truncation. So that's newborn baby, newborn babies, or simply newborn or newborns, or neonates, neonatals, etc. So this relates to our population group. Now I've done this search numerous times. I keep modifying it, changing it. This is live, right? So I'm actually building this query as I speak, as it were. And as you saw in the PowerPoint, we are now looking at the title and abstract search. So TI for title from the drop down on the right. I will also select AB abstract here and also make sure I've got the OR operator selected, because we are going to cut and paste or copy and paste this string to the row below. So we've got the terms replicated in both rows, but one is performing a title search, one is an abstract search, and we are combining with the Boolean OR here. Okay, now just point out here on the screen, this will not come into play, by the way, but just to illustrate this, the search mode below, you see search modes and expanders. So basically what we're doing here is going to override this default search mode, okay, because we're using the field codes title and abstract. But proximity searching here was originally labeled Boolean phrase. It's been updated. That label can be changed back to the original labeling, but it was felt based on feedback, experience with users and users, that proximity would be the best search mode in terms of the labeling for it. So basically, this is where this will be configured to the W or within proximity operator, as it were. But again, that's just the detail I wanted to highlight there. This was changed last month, by the way. So it now says proximity as opposed to Boolean phrase. If you want to change it back to that, it's possible in EBSCO admin if needed. So we're going to run this search for the population group initially. So I'm going to click search here, and then you should see the search results appearing. Okay. And we've got our search history there. Okay, already displayed. Now, that is only the first step for PICO. The first half of the first step. The second half of the first step, of course, is to do the subject search. So we can do it in a number of ways. The first way I'll show you is the way introduced in the PowerPoint. So go to CINAHL subject headings. If you're doing this in Medline, you go to Mesh 2024. So click on the toolbar link on the left there, and you can just enter newborn, for example, and then browse here. And you'll see here we've got terms here. So if, for example, the term doesn't get picked up, then you can always browse additional terms below that link there. But we have infant newborn here, so we're going to select this one. If you follow the blue line across, you'll see we've got these three columns. The first one says explode, which is represented by the plus sign, and that indicates we're going to include additional narrower terms in addition to any item indexed with this main term. So to see that, click on infant newborn. This brings up the subject tree for CINAHL. So we have name groups by age, child, infant, and then we have infant newborn, and then we have the other elements like large for gestational age, low birth weight, post-mature, premature, etc. So we can include these additional subheadings in our search by the explode option there. If I go back to the term list, just point out also and just reselect this for the blue line to appear again. We have major concept. If you select that box, it would ensure that any results that you retrieve feature predominantly references or information related to this subject group here, this population group, which is the subject heading. Okay, so major content is basically major subject heading, where that's the primary focus of that article, dissertation, book chapter, etc. So in other words, it's been assigned to that item, but it's the primary focus. We have scope note here. Now, I wouldn't say you'd use major concept at this stage because we are going to keep it quite broad. As you can remember from the beginning, we're trying to find all studies out there that would meet the eligibility criteria. So we're trying to keep this as broad as possible initially. And then you can see what this subject term is used for. Okay, so basically it's a person from the time of birth to 1 month of age there. Now, if you look across, you'll see all subheadings are automatically included. There are different elements of here, for example, education, ethical issues, and so on. Each of these has their own scope note, but these can be assigned or selected and appended to the original subject search to qualify it based on these elements of ethical issues, evaluation, and so on. Again, for this kind of search, you may not be using these elements for something, picking up other articles for a critical appraisal club or for a particular assignment, you might use them. And then related headings, what they're used for, and you can see it's used for baby, newborn, neonate, etc. So we know that this is the definitive CINAHL subject term for newborns. And then we can click search database to add that to our search history. So when you see the search history, you've got two elements. These relate to the population group for PICO. So what we want to do here at this stage is combine both. So we'll select both sets from within the search history, and we'll combine with the Boolean OR, because we are searching for content about newborns, infants, as it were, whether the items have been indexed with that subject heading, or if the terms newborn, neonates, etc. appear somewhere in the title or abstract fields. And the reason why we do both essentially is that not all content in CINAHL is fully indexed. In other words, it's added to the database. We call it we call them pre-CINAHL records, but there's a timescale for the addition of subject headings. So you can see these ones have subject headings already, but item 3 has no subject headings. So if we were to search only based on the CINAHL subject heading, we would not retrieve this result. Okay, and this is pretty current because it says September 2024. So that's just the publisher date, as it were, I suppose, for this particular journal. But you can see neonatal is mentioned in the title, and newborns is also there. It may also, there's no abstract also for this. So again, searching for a combination of title abstract searching with the subject search, we're covering our bases. The subject searching will, of course, retrieve more authoritative search results. The title abstract search also ensures that we pick up other results which may not have been indexed at this stage. Okay, now we're not going to just look at those results. We are going to combine it with other terms. And before we do that, just to mention within the search history, you can see the display is in reverse chronological order. So S3, S2, S1. Now that's quite helpful to know where you got to, but if you can report on this search and want to reproduce it, it would be really advisable to have the sequence. So if you want to see the sequence of the search where we started from, and then also where we'll finish, then click search ID and hash, and you'll see we can now reverse that. So we're now in chronological order, as it were. So we completed the first element of PICO, the population group relating to newborns. We then want to move on to look at water birth. So this is our main intervention we're focusing on. So we can do this a number of ways. So you can put water birth here. You can also add or. It could be water birth or birth underwater. So to do that, we can also add birth, N2, for example, and water. So that would be water birth or birth underwater, as it were. Okay. Then we can also add birthing pool, or it could be, let's see, but this, or underwater birth could be a phrase. Or let's do underwater birth here. Okay. So it could be a literal phrase like this. Okay. Or it could be birthing pool. So we could put birth, asterisk, birth pool, birthing pool, etc. So again, we're trying to be creative here, trying to understand, second guess what's out there in the literature. What would water birth be rendered as in the literature? So again, water birth will be a key term. It could also be 2 words. So we could also add this in as a phrase search, water birth as, water birth as a phrase there. Okay. Of course, as I'm doing this, some of you may be following on screen. Some of you may have your own ideas about how you'd approach this search as well. So feel free to share that if you wish. But we're going to choose title here, AB abstract, and I'll copy this string, paste it below again, and then use the Boolean or. So we've got water birth or birth, N2 water, that's birth, underwater or water birth, and so on. And then underwater birth, etc. And then birth. Sorry, actually, let me get this right here. Yeah, birthing pool or birth pool, etc. So I'm going to try to. One thing to know is if you see, and I think I'll just unbirth. I think I just deleted something there. One thing to know, as I'll show you in a moment, if you do make a mistake with any of these search strings or you want to edit them, you can do so in the search history. So I'm just going to run this for now. Of course, if anyone's eagle-eyed and spots any errors, please do let me know. But just to show then within the search history on screen, on the far right there, you'll see edit. So if you do make mistakes, or if you feel you need to edit this search string, just click edit, and you can change this specific search string here with these search terms. Okay, in fact, I can see an error already here, this one here. So I moved my mouse too quickly and then just right clicking and so on. So what I can do here, just, let's see now, where is this part? I can just, let's see, I've got to figure out where I am now. Birth underwater, okay, underwater birth, birth bowl, or water birth. Yeah, I think I just accidentally pasted that here. So again, this way you can make changes to this and click save. So you don't need to create the whole search string again. You can just edit it. Okay, so I've made that change there. Okay, so the next thing then is to look at the subject, the equivalent subject heading for this. So that's water birth. So again, we can now use the statistic terms as an illustration. So if I put in water birth here, okay, I can map this. Now, just to illustrate, it comes up with watercress and watermelon, which is clearly not relevant to our search. So that shows us then we're not using the appropriate keyword search term to map to the thesaurus. So if I go to browse additional terms here and just put this as 2 words, which is most likely to be, then browse, you can see it is indeed 2 words. So indexers use this phrase, water birth, so referencing, birthing pools, etc. Okay, now if you follow the blue line across here, you'll see the explode comment is grayed out. This is a single index term. There are no related headings that we can be using when we click this term because the box is grayed out. Major concept is still there, and we have the scope note for more information on this particular term. So method of childbirth that allows the mother to be in water, etc., to ease the pain of labor and so on. So we know that's the right term. Again, all subheadings are included by default. If you scroll down, you might see here, before 1995, it would be childbirth water. That was the index term used in the mid-90s. Okay, so that is going too far back in terms of our search. We may be going back 5 or 10 years in this particular instance. Okay, so if there's anything else we could be using, there was also alternative birth methods as well. So again, I can search for that. I can browse here. I just put birth methods and see what we come up with here. Okay, so I can browse for another term. In fact, I'm aware that that is there. and you can see alternative birth methods. So I could be using this as well. So select this. Again, if you want clarification, whether it's really relevant, then go to the scope note. So methods of childbirth that are considered other than standard. So I think you may agree that it could include birth underwater, of course, other practices as well, but we can incorporate that into it as well. Okay, so we've got that there. So once I've selected both terms, both index terms from the CINAHL subheadings list, you can see they're collated on the right, and we have the Boolean or. So anything indexed with water birth combined with anything indexed with alternative birth methods, so it's either or, as it were. So we can search the database for these terms. Okay, and then they're grouped together. So this is the subject element of the intervention part of PICO, and I can again combine these sets S4, S5 to select the boxes there, combine with the Boolean or, search with or above the search history, and we'll group them together. So we've now done the first half of PICO. We've looked at the newborns, we're featuring that also in relation to the intervention of water birth. And now, of course, we are beginning to look at birth on dry land. So that's going to be more tricky. We can again run a search on this. We can put, for example, land birth as one word, or land birth as two words, which is most likely to be the case, or birth on dry land. So birth, or we could even put this birth on dry land. I could literally put that. I've not done this before, but anyway, I'll put that as an example. Birth on dry land. Okay, so again, you can be quite creative, imaginative. Once you've found a series of articles, as we'll see, you may then rebuild your search or revise your search to include other terms that you didn't pick up before, or you don't search explicitly for as well. Okay, so again, I'm modifying this each time I run this search, and this is live. So paste this here, use or, again, title and abstract. I'm sure as librarians you're used to this methodical, somewhat tedious approach to searching. For clinical staff, it might be more challenging, but again, just a matter of user education and so on. Okay, birth on dry land. Actually, what I might do here, I'm going to modify this. So I've got land birth, two words, although no, I think I'll leave it as it is. Okay, I think I'll leave that as it is. So that's the exact phrase, land birth. I could, of course, do it differently than this. I could just put in, let's see, N3, birth, land birth. So I could put RN3 here, land. So that could be birth on dry land, land birth as well, possibly. So I'm kind of playing with this at the moment and seeing what we get from this. So let me just copy this across here and then just see how we get on. So I've modified this from previous sessions. So I'm just exploring in this instance. Okay, so I'll run the search here. Okay, so I've got 13 references. So not very successful in terms of other references there, but in any case, we'll combine that with the aspect of the subject search. So again, we can combine, for example, land birth here. Okay, with this, with the index terms. So you can see here what it's mapped me to is term birth, birthplace, water birth is mentioned again. We've already selected that in terms of the intervention, so we won't choose that there. Birth setting. Again, some of these you might want to just check the scope note to see if it is relevant. This relates to a physical location. Possibly it might imply birth on dry land. Birthplace relates specifically to where you're born. Again, do we want to include that? We could be quite broad initially. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best term, but I might include it here. Birthing positions. That's relates specifically to the mother. Again, alternative birth centers, that really probably would be more useful for the other elements. So we're going to think some other things here. Childbirth, for example. So if I browse additional terms here, I'll just clear that. So put childbirth. Okay. And you see childbirth, use childbirth. We have got childbirth, which of course is quite generic. If you follow the blue line across again, check the scope note. So as you might guess, it's the process of giving birth to a newborn infant. Okay, so it could again be applied that it's land birth, as it were. And there's another one as well that I could be using. So I think it's Again, this is something I found through trial and error, as it were. Home birth, and if I browse here, is it going to appear here? Modification. Yeah, home childbirth. Now I admit we're using CINAHL right now. You could be using MEDLINE, looking at the mesh terms, and you will find different terms there. So there are ways in which you could rerun the search in CINAHL on MEDLINE. We generally don't advise that for supporting system reviews because the index terms will differ. Some of these terms will not appear in the mesh index. It may have alternative expressions as well. So again, you could run the same search on MEDLINE, but you would modify it to incorporate the appropriate mesh terms as opposed to using CINAHL subheadings. Again, scope note will give you more information there. So kind of, implied that's birth on dry land, childbirth in a home environment. Obviously, you could have a birthing pool in a home environment, but we'll leave it as it is for now. So we've got the three terms: birthplace, birth setting, childbirth, or full terms, home childbirth now selected. Okay, and so we can search on these. So again, these are combined with the Boolean OR. So it's any one of those. Okay, and we've got a lot more results here. So what we can do at this stage, again, if there's more questions, please put them in the Teams chat. We can combine S7, S8, which relates to birth on dry land, land birth, etc., and then group together with the Boolean OR, search with OR here. So we've got them into one set there. Okay, and you can see here, we haven't really got any additional terms. So though the terms we've used, the keyword search terms, they do appear to feature in the other results. So in other words, these 13 results have been indexed with these terms. Okay, I think that's correct. Okay. Again, this could be your first iteration of the search. You would modify it going forward until you're satisfied that what you've got is exactly what you're looking for, and you could forward the results accordingly, which we'll get into in the next session. So the last element, of course, is the risk of neonatal morbidity, infant mortality, etc. So we can again search for this. So bear with me as I just look at terms here. So we can add this. So neonatal, we can truncate this to neonates or neonatal. We can add N, for example, morbidity. Okay, so that's the neonatal morbidity or morbidity of neonates, etc. And then we can also add or neonatal, let's see, N1 mortality. Okay, and there again, there are other ways we could do this. In fact, what I might do here, let me do it this way. Let's see. What I might do, actually, let me do it this way. I'm going to modify this. So neonatal, okay, N1, and I'll put in parentheses morbidity or mortality, okay, in this fashion. So, and then we could do the same. In fact, we could do it also for infant mortality as well. So I'll do it this way, infant, and I'll put infants or, okay, N1 and for morbidity or mortality, okay. So we'll do it this way. Okay, so basically what we're doing here is, neonatal is truncated there, so it's not just neonatal, it's both. N1 near, so this remember, this is the word, regardless of the words in the order that they are in. So it could be morbidity of neonates, could be neonatal morbidity or mortality, etc. And likewise with infants, it could be infant mortality or it could be morbidity of infants and so on. Okay, so it gives a combination of terms there, not morality, by the way. So again, spot the error there. Okay, so I'm going to copy this string, paste below, use the Boolean or on the left, choose title from the drop down, the field code, and then AB for abstract from the following field code. Again, I will run this search. If I end up with 0, then I'll check my string because it could be incorrect. There may be some error there. Let's see, we've got over 10,000 from that actually. And then I can then go to see edit here to make any changes if I spot any errors or add other terms here. So you can do that for each line. Okay. By the way, if you do make a mistake, you end up with 0 results in an element, you can go in and select the line of the search, the set number, and then you could delete it. And the EBSCO search history is renumbered. So it wouldn't go from S6 to S8. If I deleted S7, it would renumber. So it goes S6, S7, and so on. So this time it will finish at S9. So it does renumber automatically when you delete a search. So if you end up clicking too soon, as I've done in the past, you need to remove it. You can do so quite easily. Or if you end up with 0 results, then you can also edit the search as well. So the final thing we'll do then is to actually subject search the matter of neonatal morbidity, etc. So again, we can go directly to the CINAHL subject headings, or we can use the suggested subject terms as I'll do now. So I'll put in neonatal, let's see, neonate, sorry, just got my spelling wrong here, mortality, okay. And this is taking me directly to the source once again. And you can see for neonatal mortality, we should use infant mortality. So we can select this term here, follow the blue line across. Again, it's a single index term. This box is grayed out under explode. Major concept is there. The scope note is also there as well. So it's the death of infants under 24 months of age. We have the subheadings included. And if you scroll down, you'll now see another useful feature here, related heading, perinatal death. So infant mortality is used for, as you see here, newborn mortality, perinatal mortality, but we do have this additional term here. So we can select this term. We're taken to the index, and then we can select it directly from here. Okay. And then we can combine infant mortality with perinatal death in terms of the subject search in relation to infant mortality, neonatal mortality, and so on. So we can click search database here. Scroll down and then combine S10 with S11, which is the final part of PICO, the outcome element of PICO, in relation to the risk of neonatal death, mortality, etc. Then we can then combine with OR. So at this stage, once we've done that, obviously completed all formats of PICO with a combination of title abstract searching or free text searching with the use of the CINAHL index. And again, the equivalent would be on Medline. You'd still do title abstract searching in the same fashion. And with the mesh headings, you'd simply choose the mesh 2024 link, which would be in the same location on the toolbar within Medline. Okay, so we're going to combine now the groups. So the population group related to newborns, which is S3, combined with S6, which relates to water birth, which is our intervention, combined with the comparison of land birth, etc., childbirth, and then finally S12, which is the risk of morbidity, mortality, etc., for neonates, infants, and so on. So we've got 4 elements there, and we'll use the Boolean and search and above the search history to combine them. So one set of results. So waiting for the drum roll now to see what we've got here. We've got 16 results. Okay, not a huge number, but we have got these results. So this is, in a sense, the first instance we're running this search. We've got these results below, so we can see some of these. You can see the terms appearing in the title, in the abstract. The subject fields also mentioned as well. So again, you can see them in bold there. And of course, you can go through these results. You can hover over the magnifying glass to view the abstract in more detail, etc. You can also select from the results list page options and choose the detailed format. So standard is really the standard format for most NHS organizations who use CINAHL and EBSCOhost, and also other sectors as well. But with detailed, if you select that radio button, apply it, you can also view the abstracts where those are available. And this will give you additional clues, terms that you might be using as well. Okay, so again, it's quite a useful feature just to browse those elements there. So again, you can see some of these references here. So we've got some that could be particularly of interest. So for example, item 2 here, or this one's a randomized control trial. Now, at the moment, what we're viewing is the most recent. So if we want the most relevant, based on the index and content, words appearing in the title abstract, then click date newest here and choose relevance from the drop down menu. Okay. So if we look at the results again, we have actually got this one, this feasibility study from Australia. So it's a randomized control trial. Okay, you can see what neonatal morbidity is mentioned here. So here you can see a randomized trial of water birth compared with non-water birth, powered to detect a difference in serious neonatal morbidity is unlikely to be feasible. Okay. So again, that's, yeah. And then this one here, and then you have this CINAHL view meta-analysis. So again, you can click through to these records here and view more information. So you've got the authors designated here. So you click through to in the snowballing technique to see other articles by the same author. You can see the author affiliation. This has come from the JBI database there. And you can look at for the subject terms there, the major and minor subject terms, as to if there's any others that you would like to factor into this search, okay, for future reference. So again, we're not looking at the processing results at this stage. We may look at the searching. You know, we've planned the search, we've run the search. We're now looking at the results of the search to see if there's anything there that could be of particular relevance. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, just switch back briefly to the PowerPoint. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back to my PowerPoint now. Okay, just outline again the search history. So this is one that I sent myself previously, and you can do that via email, by the way, as an attached file. And then you can then see, obviously, identify the various elements of PICO, the population group, related to newborns, infants, etc. The intervention, which was S6, the water birth and so on. So the title object search combined with the CINAHL subject search, as it were. Then the comparison, which is land birth, etc. And then, of course, we had the outcome, which relates to the morbidity, mortality of neonates, etc. And combined with the final set. So it gives you just a layout of the search history and what we've done so far. And again, once you found a reference like this one that we saw on screen just now, then you can explore it further for additional terms. Ideally, if you have the abstract, then obviously that will give you indications of what other terms you could be searching for. Otherwise, you may just have the subjects listed as shown here on this page. Okay, just to add and underscore the use of the syntax for CINAHL and MEDLINE, we do have these shortcuts, these help sheets as well. So you can see here of CINAHL, one for MEDLINE. They are available through the EBSCO Connect portal, by the way. So it'll give you more detailed example or information on using the wildcards, proximity search operators, etc., with examples there. And we do have comparisons also for MEDLINE with the Ovid interface and also ProQuest as well, if those are interested. So the ProQuest one is here. So any feedback on that documentation will be helpful. We like to keep them up to date, making sure that they're correct. So if you look at these, if you review these, please feedback to us if we need to make any changes. But as far as I know, they are accurate. So that's just the initial searching. Just wanted to introduce you to the evidence-based methodological filters. So these are search strategies that identify a topic or aspect or study type. So if you could be looking for systematic reviews or cost effectiveness studies and so on. So I'm showing you these because these could also assist you in identifying what's been done previously, what systematic reviews are out there already, and that may give you additional terms that you could use to review your search. It might give you other references as well that you've not seen before. So again, it's quite a useful method of actually identifying additional literature and also preparing to rerun your search at some stage. These filters, by the way, are tried and tested, designed for repeated use, and they're often combined with specific subject terms. And you see an example there, which I'm sure some of you have seen before: breast cancer tamoxifen, limited to randomized controlled trial. So just moving on then, for CINAHL, we have the evidence-based practice filter, or EBP. For MEDLINE, we have evidence-based medicine reviews, or EBM. And we also have clinical queries for both databases for EBSCOhost. In terms of the evidence-based practice filter, so this will limit and search results that have the special interest field with the value evidence-based practice indicated. So this will allow you to limit your results to articles from evidence-based practice journals, articles about evidence-based practice, and also research articles, and that includes systematic reviews, meta-analyses. In addition, it will also pick up commentaries on research studies as well. So basically, it will just refine your search to those evidence-based journals, essentially. Now, in contrast, the EBM reviews filter for MEDLINE will limit your search to the following 6 titles within MEDLINE. So it will pick up any systematic reviews from Cochrane, the ACB journal content, clinical evidence, evidence-based mental health, evidence-based nursing, and evidence reports and technology assessments. Okay, so what it's doing is basically limiting your search results to a small set of titles that apply very strict criteria, so they include obviously high quality evidence-based content. Okay, so slight different use of that as well. And then finally, the clinical queries. These are search strategies or hedges developed by the Health Information Research Unit at McMaster in collaboration with EBSCO, of course, to run on the EBSCO interface for CINAHL and MEDLINE. So they're designed to be applied to retrieve clinically relevant and scientifically sound results from those databases. There is information on the McMaster website as well if you need more information. We do provide links there to the clinical queries filters and the search strategies behind them. So for CINAHL, there are 5 research areas covered: therapy, prognosis, review, qualitative research, and causation. For MEDLINE, we also have the costs and economics included as well. So there are 9 research areas altogether for MEDLINE. Again, there's a link within the PowerPoint to the various search strategies that sit behind these. And then together, the 5 research areas in CINAHL, the 9 in MEDLINE, have 3 options: high sensitivity, which is the broadest search to include all relevant material; high specificity, the most targeted search to include only the most relevant results set; or you have the best balance between the two. So before we finish, I want to just give you a brief demonstration of that. So I will stay in MEDLINE for now. Sorry, CINAHL. I'll just click share and go to my desktop once again. So you'll see again the search history open with the results that we found earlier. And what I can do now at this stage, if I go to my left-hand column, scroll down, go to show more under the publication date slider, and then I can choose EBP or evidence-based practice from this search options page, and I can search based on the criteria of EBP. So that searches for the phrase or the special interest field for evidence-based practice. So we've got just 2 results here, as you can might expect, including this one here. So if we just open this up, you'll see the special interest field is identified here. So long as that field is populated with the also evidence-based practice, then when you use that filter, this record will be retrieved. Okay. If we were to go to MEDLINE, I'll click choose databases here. I will switch to MEDLINE. I wouldn't advise doing this, but just for sake of time, rather than running the search again, I click OK. What I would do here in my search history, this can be rerun, but I will remove the last step because EBP doesn't factor in MEDLINE. It's only relevant to CINAHL. So it's going to delete this. And just to rerun this, just to illustrate this, but again, I wouldn't advise doing this in support of assisted review. So you might find, and you see here an example why you wouldn't do that. For water breath, there is a 0 here. Okay, so there's no results if you use these headings. These subject terms are CINAHL subject terms, not mesh terms. Okay, but we have got these 5 records, which I just wanted to show these quickly. So these 5 records, and I'm going to go to page options and change it back to standard here. Apply this, and you see we've got these 5 records. So you can see again, this is a system review meta-analysis. Okay, this is a cohort study, a feasibility study. Again, this is what we saw also in CINAHL, and this one also. So you can see immediately you're bringing back high quality literature. Okay, and you can see that where these are coming from. So I don't think we have any Cochrane ones at the moment. Let me just check here. No, it's just these ones. But so it's these 5 records that have been identified. And if I go to one of these, let's go to the first one, for example, then you'll see this should have somewhere. Interesting, it's not designated here. We can see publication type, meta-analysis, systematic reviews. So I don't think it has a field that says evidence-based medicine reviews, but it would be picked up as it has been because it is related to this particular title, as it were. Okay. So again, just shortcuts that may help you identify additional terms, again, from the abstracts that are available for creating or recreating your search. So again, you'd run the search initially, maybe in CINAHL, and then adapt it for MEDLINE and rerun, etc. And you can apply the respective filters there. Okay. If you want to use the clinical queries filter, there is another option. So again, if I click new search here, just to show this on the advanced search page, you've got search options here, and you'll see we've got clinical queries on the right, therapy there, diagnosis, prognosis, reviews, clinical prediction guides, qualitative research, causation, costs, economics, and so on. Okay, so you can do a search and apply that filter to the search itself. Okay, so these are available in MEDLINE, and also if we jump back to CINAHL, you'll see them also available in CINAHL as well. So remember, 9 research areas for MEDLINE, 5 for CINAHL. So again, if you scroll down, you'll see them here on the left. So on MEDLINE, they sit on the right. On CINAHL, they're on the left-hand side. You can see again, review, qualitative, causation. Okay, so just 5 there. And each of these has, of course, the 3 strategies, high sensitivity, high specificity, or best balance as well. But I know we're getting close to the end of this session, so I just want to point out to you again, the help menu on the right-hand column, toolbar, go to the top right there, and then in relation to Andy's comment or question before, if we scroll down, you'll see we've got references to including phrases in a search here. So for example, I won't read all this, but you can see the various elements there to refer to. Okay. And also we've got information on proximity searching, etc., and searching with wildcards and truncation symbols, etc. Okay, so again, you may want to consult this information for more detailed content, etc., about how to use the various syntax. And as I mentioned, there are the transition or the help sheets detailing the syntax for CINAHL and MEDLINE that are available through EBSCO Connect, our support portal as well. And for more detailed look at the field codes you can search for or search within, go to the bottom left for CINAHL. You'll have the equivalent menu in MEDLINE too, and you'll see searchable fields here, and it gives you the tags, the abbreviations there for each of those fields, and whether they're phrase indexed or word indexed, as indeed abstract is. Okay, and how to use it as a command line query. Okay, so again, those are listed there, and we also have the definition of fields also included if some are not so clear to you or if you're new to this. So again, the information is available there. Let me go back to the PowerPoint then, just to wrap up here. Some take-home points then, just to conclude. So use PICO or other frameworks. We cover that in other sessions to construct search queries. So PICO may not always be the most appropriate framework for your search query, but this is just showing you there's a structured approach out there that you may be doing already, or you can take to future searching, etc. Using search, a combination of searching the free text, that is tautologic searching in this context, combined with the use of the thesaurus terms, so medical sort of headings for MEDLINE, CINAHL sort of headings for CINAHL. Also important to use the EBSCO syntax. You may try to use other syntax from other provided databases. It may work to a degree, but the results that you retrieve will not be accurate. So I'd always recommend make sure to use the appropriate syntax that you've seen today, and you'll find more information again in the help sheets that I've included in the PowerPoint as well. So that's for CINAHL and MEDLINE and other databases that use the EBSCO's platform. Okay, and consider using filters if appropriate to identify key articles or to give clues for search terms. You might do this from the beginning just to see what's been done before, and then you may pick up various search terms that you can then incorporate into your future PICO or equivalent search. In terms of training support, we do provide links here in the PowerPoint as well. So again, you can see here on advanced searching using CINAHL, mesh headings, etc. So you can consult that in your own time. And we do have a dedicated training portal from EBSCO, which is collating that material into one site. So you can access previous recordings, by the way, of other sessions, including this one, and also upcoming events as well. So there are upcoming training sessions that you can book for, as you did indeed for this session. Okay, so again, numerous support materials, including links to the training pages, EBSCO Academy, our learning management system, EBSCO Connect, our main support portal, and also promotional materials if you want to, educate your users concerning MEDLINE and CINAHL. Okay, and then we do have filters here as well, by the way, within this page, within this site. So there's an example of a filter with the various syntax there included if you want to consult that. And if you want to go to EBSCO Connect directly, go to connect.ebsco.com. Okay, and there you'll find additional tutorials and also a link to the EBSCO Academy learning management system. So EBSCO Academy provides additional recordings and also the links to the e-learning paths, which means that you can take a whole course in relation to CINAHL or MEDLINE in your own time, and these are complimentary. You just need to register for them. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all these slides here because of time, so we're kind of out of time, but we do offer additional training as well on our Zoom portal for those who can access that. So on ebooks, EBSCOnet, a subscription management platform, and so on. So again, there's a link there within the PowerPoint to explore that further. So I know we're kind of past the hour mark now, so I'm happy to pause here if there are any questions, but I appreciate if you need to leave, that's fine. Any questions, comments from this session, feel free to put it in the Teams chat. Otherwise, what I'll say, you can obviously contact me directly. I put my email at the beginning of the PowerPoint, but it's Arcus, and I'll put that in the Teams chat for you. So you may have contacted me in the past, but for those who haven't, I'll leave my email in the Teams chat as well for you. Okay, so I'm happy to conclude there if there are no questions or further comments. Okay, thank you.